All right, so today we're going to deep dive into love,
Ah,
but we're going way beyond, like poems and uh, love songs and all that stuff to really uncover like what's happening in the brain
yeah.
when we fall for someone.
It's really complex.
Yeah,
We think of love as this purely emotional thing, but there are actually measurable changes happening in our brains.
right. And so our guide for this journey is an article from Harvard Medical School
Okay.
that combines the perspectives of scientists
Interesting.
and practicing couples therapists.
Okay.
So we're really going to try to blend hard science with like real world
Yeah.
relationship insights.
Yeah, and you know what's fascinating is that romantic love
Yeah.
is not just limited to one culture or time period.
Okay.
There was a study published in the journal Behavioral and Brain Sciences back
Yep.
in 1990,
Right.
and they looked at 166 different cultures, and they found evidence of romantic love in almost 90% of them.
Wow. 90%.
Yeah.
So it's not just like a modern invention or a product of like Hollywood movies or whatever.
Right.
Clearly something deeper.
Exactly, and neuroscience is giving us a glimpse into that deeper level.
Okay.
One of the tools researchers use is fMRI,
Yeah.
which stands for functional magnetic resonance imaging.
Right.
And basically it allows us to see which areas of the brain are active during certain tasks or experiences.
So they like put people in those big brain scanners
Mm-hmm.
and then show them like pictures of their sweetheart or something.
Pretty much, yeah. And what they've found is that viewing images of loved ones
Yeah.
activates the brain's reward system.
Oh.
The same network that lights up when we experience pleasure from things like food or drugs or even winning money.
Right. I've always heard people kind of joke about being addicted to love.
Yeah,
But you're telling me there's a real neurological basis for that feeling.
there really is.
Wow.
Studies have consistently shown that specific regions of the brain, like the caudate nucleus
Okay.
and the ventral tegmental area,
Wow.
are highly active when people are in love. The caudate nucleus plays a key role in learning memory and reward processing,
Right.
while the ventral tegmental area is involved in motivation and pleasure.
So like these areas are essentially like lighting up,
Right.
saying like, hey, this love thing is pretty awesome. Let's do more of that.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And it's not just about brain regions lighting up.
Yeah.
It's also about the specific chemicals that are released during those moments of intense love.
Okay, so let's break down this love potion.
Okay.
What are the key ingredients?
Well, one of the stars of the show is dopamine,
Dopamine.
which is often referred to as the feel-good neurotransmitter.
Okay.
It's associated with pleasure, motivation, and reward.
Right.
And it plays a major role in that initial rush of excitement and euphoria we feel when we fall in love.
Yeah, that makes sense. That explains why we feel so energized and so focused on our
Mhm.
loved one in those like early stages of a relationship, like
Yeah.
we're on this natural high.
You got it.
Hmm.
But dopamine isn't the only player. Cortisol,
Cortisol.
our stress hormone, also surges when we're smitten with someone.
Wait, so stress?
Yeah.
Doesn't that make love sound not so fun?
Well, it's not necessarily bad stress.
Okay.
Think of it more like a heightened sense of alertness
Okay.
and excitement.
Right.
It's part of what makes the experience so intense.
So it's like a roller coaster ride.
Yeah,
The thrill comes with a bit of butterflies in the stomach.
exactly. And to add to that roller coaster ride,
Oh boy.
serotonin levels actually dip when we're in the throes of new love.
Serotonin, isn't that the chemical that helps regulate mood?
Yeah.
So low serotonin doesn't sound ideal.
Low serotonin can contribute to feelings of anxiety and
Yeah.
obsessive thinking,
Right.
which many people experience when they're falling hard for someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can lead to those, late night text marathons
Right.
or the constant replaying of every interaction in your head.
Yeah.
It's part of what makes that experience so intoxicating, but also kind of unsettling.
But so what happens as the relationship matures?
Right.
Do those intense feelings just fade away?
Not necessarily as the relationship evolves.
Yeah.
Other hormones come into play,
Yeah.
promoting a different kind of connection,
Okay.
a more stable, long-lasting bond.
So who are these long-term love champions?
We're talking about oxytocin and vasopressin.
Okay.
You might have heard of oxytocin as the cuddle hormone.
Right.
It's released during physical touch and intimacy,
Right.
and it promotes feelings of trust, connection, and bonding.
Okay.
Vasopressin is also involved in bonding and attachment,
Mhm.
and it's been linked to monogamous behavior in some animal studies.
Oh, wow. So it's like the brain is shifting gears from that initial dopamine-fueled frenzy
Mhm.
to a calmer, more sustained sense of connection.
Exactly. And there's another fascinating aspect of how love affects the brain.
Okay.
It actually seems to suppress activity in the areas associated with negative judgment.
So you mean love is literally blind?
In a way, yeah. Studies have shown that when people are shown pictures of their loved ones,
Mm-hmm.
there's reduced activity in the amygdala,
Okay.
which is the part of the brain involved in processing fear and negative emotions.
Right.
And the prefrontal cortex, which helps us make critical judgments,
Mm-hmm.
also shows decreased activity.
Oh, so that's why we tend to overlook our partner's flaws.
Yeah.
When we're head over heels in love,
Yeah.
our brain's essentially giving them a free pass.
It's a fascinating phenomenon, but as you mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
those intense feelings of early love do tend to mellow over time.
Which honestly is probably a good thing.
Yeah.
We can't live on a constant roller coaster of emotions forever.
Right.
But does that mean the love is gone?
Not at all. It simply means it's transitioning into a different phase.
Okay.
One that's characterized by deeper intimacy, trust, and companionship.
Right.
And this is where the concept of the rustiness phenomenon comes in.
Rustiness phenomenon. I haven't heard that term before.
It basically refers to the idea that couples can get out of the habit of expressing love and affection over time.
Right.
Life gets busy, routines set in,
Right.
and suddenly those little gestures that used to come naturally start to fade.
Oh, I see. It's like a muscle that weakens if you don't use it.
Yeah.
But the good news is you can always rebuild that muscle.
Absolutely. And that's where understanding the brain science of love can be incredibly helpful.
Okay.
By consciously engaging in activities that boost those bonding hormones and reactivate those reward pathways, couples can keep the spark alive even after years or even decades together.
Okay. I'm all ears. Give us the game plan for battling this rustiness. What can couples do to reignite those loving feelings?
Well, physical intimacy is certainly a powerful way to boost oxytocin
Right.
and jumpstart the reward system.
Right.
It goes beyond just sex.
Yeah.
It's about any form of affectionate touch, cuddling, holding hands, giving each other massages.
Right.
Even just a warm hug can release a flood of feel-good hormones.
So those small everyday gestures of affection actually have a big impact on our brains and our relationships.
They really do. And it's not just about physical touch.
Wow.
Engaging in novel and exciting activities together can also reignite those feelings of passion and connection.
Right.
Remember how dopamine is all about reward and novelty?
Yes.
Well, when couples try new things together,
Yeah.
they're essentially recreating those early dating experiences that were so exhilarating.
That makes sense. So instead of falling into a routine of like dinner and a movie,
Right.
maybe try rock climbing,
Yeah.
going on a weekend getaway,
Yeah.
or even just taking a cooking class together.
Anything that shakes things up and creates a sense of shared adventure can help reignite that spark.
Right.
And don't underestimate the power of simply expressing appreciation for each other.
Okay.
Taking the time to acknowledge your partner's positive qualities and express gratitude for their presence in your life
Yeah.
can go a long way in strengthening your bond.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, from the initial chemical rush of falling in love
Right.
to the importance of nurturing long-term connections. What are some of the key takeaways you hope our listeners will remember from this deep dive?
I think for me, one of the most significant takeaways is that
Yeah.
love isn't just this fleeting feeling.
Right.
It's a complex interplay of brain regions, neurochemicals, and behaviors.
Right.
And understanding that can really empower us to be more intentional in
Yeah.
our relationships.
It's like we've been given this like backstage pass
Yeah,
to the mechanics of love.
exactly.
We see the gears turning, the chemicals flowing.
Right.
It's both fascinating and reassuring.
Absolutely. And it takes some of the pressure off, too.
Right.
If we hit a rough patch,
Yeah.
we don't have to assume that love is gone.
Right.
We can recognize that it might just be a matter of reigniting those neural pathways, rekindling that sense of connection.
So it's not about magically finding the one, but it's about understanding how to cultivate and nurture love over time.
Exactly. And that knowledge can be incredibly powerful.
Right.
For example, couples therapists are increasingly incorporating
Yeah.
insights from neuroscience into their practice.
Oh, wow.
They're helping couples understand the science behind their emotions,
Interesting.
providing practical strategies for strengthening their bond.
So it's like a blend of the head and the heart.
Yeah.
We're not discounting the emotional experience of love,
Right.
but we're also kind of embracing
Uh-huh.
the scientific understanding
Exactly.
of what's happening beneath the surface.
And that holistic approach can lead to more fulfilling and resilient relationships.
Well, this has been such an eye-opening deep dive. I feel like I have a whole new perspective on love.
I'm glad to hear that. It's really fascinating how science is shedding light on even our most profound human experiences.
Well, listeners, we've reached the end of our exploration into the brain science of love.
Okay.
But we want to hear from you.
Yes.
Has this deep dive changed your perspective on love? What are some ways you might apply these insights to your own relationships?
Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments.
Right.
We always love hearing from you.
And if you're hungry for more mind-expanding deep dives, don't forget to click like and subscribe to this Unlock Your Mind podcast. Awesome. We've got a whole universe of fascinating topics waiting to be explored. Until next time, stay curious.